how do you start this kind of thing? So normally there's someone asking questions.
Yeah.
Well, you were supposed to be the one asking questions.
We can start with the question of the album. Who has the right to closure? Do you have the right to closure?
I don't know if the question is there to be answered.
Very mysterious.
No, but good question. And of course I've been thinking about it during the process, but it raises more questions than answers, because what is there to close? And then, because I think that is important to understand who. Sometimes I think that it's up to me. Like we just talked a little bit about my process of changing patterns.
Yeah.
Some kind of things, they feel very personal and it's up to me. But I also call the exhibition Changing Patterns because I want the world to change their patterns.
Right. Yeah.
But at the same time, patterns are the underlying things of everything which are unable to change. So there's this kind of paradox.
Yeah.
Then closure, because this is also an interesting word now, the closure, since I mostly think in cycles, closure always means an beginning as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah.
So what is actually closure? How does a day end?
Yeah.
Does it end when I close my eyes? Does it end when it's 12 o'clock at night? Does it end when I wake up the next day? And so like pointing to an end is also very difficult in most processes, because they kind of are circular, and maybe there's not a very clear beginning of an end until what you just said with a law. That's kind of harsh. So
right. Yeah.
And then we give the trust or to politicians, like, okay, it's up to you. You can close. We sometimes vote, and then you can do the rest. Yeah, I think that system is kind of working towards its end by itself, maybe, but it's impossible to answer the question, but it's an interesting one, because it makes you think about processes and where something ends and why something should end in order to start something else, and what kind of space is needed. Why should we close, or I or you, or and of course it makes me think about relations. You can also stop a relation, but there it's very clear that the relation always consists of more than one individual.
Yeah.
And in my personal philosophy of the last years, I more and more understood that everything is based on relations, and then it becomes more and more difficult to understand who is actually going to close, because
and also, what does it mean to close? To have closure with something, someone.
And in my personal life with my partner, we also talk about the relation as an entity. So there is a you and a me and a relation. And maybe the relation also has needs and a voice. And are we able to listen to that?
Right.
Which in my personal life is an helpful tool to understand the relation as an entity that also has a need and a wish that affects all or both people who are in that relation.
Interesting.
So I don't have an answer, Skander.
No, I don't think that's the goal. I think at least when I thought of the album title, like, you think a lot about it. Of course, it was written for choreography originally, which was called clausura, which is closure, Spanish for closure. And in that piece, like, it starts very abstract. It's a duet, two dancers in one kind of costume shape. Quite a slow piece at first, quite meditative. But that was also a lot about, like, okay, but so we are kind of entangled in this, and there's some kind of disentanglement, but is it really there? And what does it mean to disentangle, and on what terms, and when, and how? So this conceptual, if you want, backbone, or these themes were already engraved in the album right from the beginning. But what was very important for me, and also in the process how it's made, like, we started working on this just 1 week after the genocide in Palestine started happening, and it was so violent. It still is so violent, and I, yeah, I was very upset. I still am, and but what I was also very upset about is that how everyone really kind of seemed to accept it. Everyone seemed to be fine with it somehow. Being like, yeah, don't go too far, and I was like, what do you mean? Don't go too far. And then I was really, so at first I thought, after a year, so when the album, I started working in it as an album, I thought maybe it should be called Who Has the Right to Decide on Who Has the Right to Closure. Because that's basically what we're doing. We're kind of saying, oh yeah, but you're doing this out of self-defense or whatever, so that's a way to get closure after a horrible attack. But at the same time, there's a lot of people without houses, food, medicine, without even being able to bury they can't even mourn on their dead people because they might not find them back, or they might be in pieces or whatever, which is, of course, I mean, you might lose someone, but maybe you can get closure. And yeah, okay, it's maybe not the most important thing when something like this is happening. But I was really like, oh, okay, apparently there's a way that people think about this. Apparently people do think about who has the right to closure and who doesn't. Apparently there is closure privilege. And I thought that is so shocking in the state of the world, or like everything we have and all the wealth there is, if you look at the world globally and etc., that we still have to go through these kind of processes, and which are state enabled, and I think is very shaming. So for me, it was also like throughout the process of this album being made, being remade, being published, and so on, I was like, whatever I thought these Western values were, it's all facade. And for me, like, that's because in a sense, like, stylistically, the album is quite Westernized. There's a lot of classical influences. There's this churchy choir, but they all, for me, they disentangle very subtly. They disentangle, and I was like, for me, that was what I was feeling. I was like, yeah, this is all crumbling.
Yeah.
Maybe it always was. Maybe it was an illusion, and I was kind of believing it or whatever. But it's definitely gone, whatever that is.
And did it bring new thoughts or insights for you to name the album like that and think about it, reflect then in the conflict that you just mentioned, but maybe, yeah, because if I listen to you, I see it on all layers. I think about the managers that we kind of, put everywhere in between, and like lots of layers, and then we don't anymore know who's making decisions because, it's not up to me, but I'm curious, did it raise new insights for you? Did it bring new insights?
To make it?
Yeah, or how to position yourself to closure?
No, because I don't have an answer, and of course I think it's way too big of a question, and I think to ask it to something is something, and to pretend to have the answer is something else. But I think it's an important reflection. At least I've had this kind of reflection about it. I think through making this, I don't think I came any closer to an answer. Of course, at the end of the day, all you can do is reflect. But it did have a subtitle at some point, which I took away because I thought it was filling in too much. But the subtitle was Music for Choreography and Emotional Reconciliation, and I think that last part, for me, was very important. Like, it was like a place for me while making this, while also listening back to it. It's a bit strange because, I mean, of course, I made it, but it does work for me. And that's why I thought, okay, this is my first album that has to come out. Because for me, it does a lot. It's very personal. Yeah. Very personal work. And I think also the process with making their choreography and exchanging, there was a lot of that as well in there, or maybe on a more personal note. And I think the reason because there were also track titles at some point, I took it all out. I stripped it fully. Because also I think this idea of closure, and I think I tried to leave a lot of space in it. It was originally designed as a supporting soundtrack, if you like. So there is space in it, and I really try to keep that. Also because I think these matters are so personal, in a way, but at the same time so universal. Just like grief.
Yeah.
almost sounds a bit gimmicky, but I think that is what it is. It's very universal, it's very personal, but we can all relate somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all have, like, it's kind of shared of the part of this shared human expression, if you may claim that.
Because that's what I find interesting about the album, both in sound and also what it, in which direction it brought me for the visuals, is that there's almost nothing in it to hold on to. Like, it doesn't give you grip. It's more about, for me, opening the space of maybe the emotional reconciliation or reflection. Like, I don't have the feeling that you're working towards trying to formulate answers, but more to give space to dive into the question.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I think that's what it became to be. I think all these things were not conceived beforehand.
yeah.
It was really made for the dance piece, and then it started having its own life, and I think, of course, you might not do things with intention, but the intentionality might be underlying, and it just comes out somehow.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking a lot. I wasn't working towards a point. And I think that's what happened when it was made for the dance piece, and then when we're working on making it a studio album or whatever you want to call it, that's where I decided, like, oh, okay, these are the reflections that I have after a year, and I'm going to try to keep it like that.
Yeah.
So it was more like sticking to what it became, instead of turning it into something with a specific something in mind, because also this is what felt good to me, and I have no idea how it comes across. It's not that I don't care, but I don't care about it in the making. Like,
Yeah.
it's what it is for me, and then maybe there's something for someone else, maybe not, but that's what it is. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I find it interesting also to observe how you kind of skip lots of information from track titles, undertitle or whatever, but keeping the title. Like that,
Yeah.
that because still when we look at the album cover, the booklet, it's more about opening spaces for reflection. But the title is very that gives a direction.
Yeah.
There's a start, and it's very concrete. Like, who has the right to closure?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we start playing the music, and we're like, okay. And I'm also in the back of my head thinking about that first poem that is in the booklet.
Yeah, that was very, I remember very well when I sent you the album and I came over.
Yeah.
And then I found you here with the poem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yo. Yo.
Hey. Hallo. Je bent in een interview beland, welkom.
Welkom in het interview. Even knuffeltje. Yo. Talking about the album.
Alright.
That is being released right now.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, cool. Nice. Like insert.
Yeah, it had to be black.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, because the front is white.
Yeah, it had to be black. Yeah.
You should take out the vinyl too.
It's see-through even.
Crazy, right?
I saw a picture and was assuming it would be kind of some pastel color, but see-through is actually quite cool.
Yeah, we need to update the pictures. They're mock-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you send something to them, you'll be like, yeah, it has to be this, more or less, a bit of that, a bit of this, a bit of that, and then and they're all different, and they're actually quite different. Yeah. For instance, this one has almost no blue.
It's kind of like a swirl, right?
I think it's, yeah. So this one has almost no, so it's very little.
Already some
What
specs.
are the specs?
I think it's just
That's dirty.
tobacco.
Tobacco included.
You get an extra bump, like the only kick in the album comes from that.
So for the Dutch speakers or understanders, we can read out a poem, but it might be hard to translate towards English. Trek ten strijde, o hopeloze sterveling, driftig richting Gods genade, ondanks dat niemand dat ontving. Opnieuw de vraag naar zijn bestaan, waardoor vervolgens bleek, in stilte verschijnt de schim, als ruis in de achtergrond een dromeloze dragende kracht, een leeg toneel. En wij maar blijven zingen, op hoop van verlichting, zolang tot hij vervolgens bleek, trots, doch eenzaam overbleef. Kind of closure.
Kind of. So why did you write that? I mean, you are calligrapher, painter, graphic person, but also writer.
Yeah, the why is like it's a result of the process. So you asked me like, hey, would you like to collaborate on this album and make visual translations of music? Okay, great. So there is something, and I'm gonna translate. Then first, let's absorb that something. So I put myself on the couch at my in my home, where I have two proper speakers pointed towards the middle of the couch, sitting there, lying there, eyes closed, fully absorbing the whole journey from beginning to the end, and just let it happen. And then kind of waking up after the last second, and I was kind of filled with feelings and thoughts, and I needed to put something out in order to start, let's say. And there were words. That was the first thing that came up, and I just randomly, or not randomly, but express these words, write them down, and I think it gave me the first little bit of understanding, what was being brought to me, in order to translate. And then I gave it a second round, a second full journey, but then sitting behind my desk, I turned the speakers towards my desk, and then I started making visual notes. But it was the very first thing to grasp a little bit what you gave me.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe in another process I would first take colors and put colors down, or I don't know. But in this case, there were words. Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
So I don't have a proper answer, but more like the process kind of asked me, so I did it.
Fuck answers.
Yeah.
Hoppa, very old phone. Yeah, so what we see here is... I have to hold it the right way. It's... hello, camera. 8 glimpses.
Yeah, or 9.
Yeah.
If you want.
9 glimpses. And then where is the overlay? We can. That's fun.
Here.
So okay, so it fits. Proof
Really fits.
for everyone watching this, it works. And now we can.
Kind of. This is approximately there. Yeah. Then it doesn't work anymore. But that's the.
This is what happened, for real. So why like this? Why did you choose to make a template, if you like?
Yeah, then we're jumping in in time, because this kind of came after making all the visualizations for the booklet. So
right.
Yeah. It's hard to answer that before.
Okay,
the
then we go
process.
back there.
Yeah. So what we have is I've been listening to the music, I've been absorbing it, writing some words down, making the first visual storyboard, which was mostly about finding this sweet spot in between abstraction and figuration, because I had this feeling that you were also playing a lot with that in the music. Sometimes you would give us things that would bring associations and thoughts, yeah, towards things like a name in the world, but sometimes you would let me float and sink into things that are unpointable or unnameable, and so more the abstraction. And I felt that from, should I say tune or song or
Whatever you like,
yeah, from
track number
track,
or
from track to
just,
track.
yeah.
You were kind of playing with it. Like sometimes I felt way more asked to give up the urge to understand what it was about and just surrender and float into the music you gave me. And sometimes it felt more that you were trying to make me think about certain specific things like religion, which is in the poem, or the position of God in our society, and all of a sudden it was very much about that for me. So yeah, with that visual storyboard, it kind of worked as an anchor to start making the actual works, in order, or at least as a bit of a composition. Like, am I gonna, maybe let's visualize this story. Yeah, am I gonna give something and a big space reaching towards that? Is there gonna be more of a subject looking at its world, or is it gonna be just one kind of a waterfall or a stream upward, how you understand, but without a subject there to point out? Is it going to be this more fragmented world consisting of pieces? So yeah, that was the first visual storyboard about, and then this crazy process started. Yeah, in between that was of course finding a working method. So I had this storyboard, just a black and white drawing with a bit of ideas.
I'll get it.
Shall I find it? If it makes sense for the whole story. No, I don't have it right here. Shall I search for it?
I thought I saw it, yeah.
Yeah, here it is. So this is that first storyboard. 8 tracks. Ah yeah, still some words,
Yeah.
single words. Having a bit of an idea of, okay, here there is clearly a landscape with something like light. This one's completely abstract. There's this figure. So like that, yeah. And then going to the studio, I remember this moment we kind of had together, in where we went through this whole box full of experimentations, which I'm always making, because that is, my curiosity towards visual work, like material working methods.
Yeah.
In the back of my head, there's always the sentence of Timothy Morton, the philosopher, ecologist, who says the how is the what, coming from phenomenology, which I kind of like to research if in my process of making, how I'm gonna fill a white piece of paper says a lot about what it is, what it actually is. And then there was this enthusiasm of this working method, in where the how is one color, one layer, very watery, so hard to control, but possible to give some kind of direction. Let it fully dry, make a second layer, which kind of listens to this first layer, but is also able to to move direction a little bit. So this purple clearly doesn't listen to the yellow which is behind, but because in shape it does something similar as the red. Like, there are a lot of choices that are able to be made, and at the same point it is, you could say, out of my control how the water and the colors they blend, but about layering. And then if you just point at one spot in the image, there is never a singular color anymore, because every layer kind of covers the whole paper, so everything is built out of transparent layers. Yeah, and then first there started this whole process of finding the right colors, because colors, for me, color is feeling, and yeah, that is this first stack that you remember to see. So this has a clearly different kind of feeling than this. Let's take another, yeah, you can just take out one different kind of feeling. Sometimes just changing one color, sometimes more, searching, the intensity of color. So this clearly didn't become what it was, but we have to, yeah, pass by, etc. So there's a whole stack, and yeah, and then I kind of felt like that the three colors that gave me the opportunity to work with it were this blue, violet, the yellow, and the light oxy, the red. And I cannot really rationally explain it, because for me that's a feeling. It gives, of course, me the opportunity to make a lot of nuance, because it's kind of the primary colors, but not fully. Yeah, and then going to making the final images, and there it's the same working method of just creating an abundance. Yeah, abundance. Because for me it was not about making every image just once and that it should be correct, but it's more about creating this abundance, and I really like the process. That's also, this is a stack of enthusiasm. Yeah. And I think it also has to do with the fact that I cannot really control. So it would be way too much pressure for me to say, okay, I have 8 papers in here, it has to happen, which I do in my painting. Like, okay, there it needs to happen, but that asks for a different kind of working method again.
Right.
And here I felt like, because it's so much about feeling and just going with it, I should just make, create, come back to it 3 days later, 1 week later, and create this abundance. Invite you to the studio and make a selection.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot about the how, which is this technical approach, but you also wanted to know the why.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's up to me to answer, or why did you ask me? Maybe we start there.
Yeah. I think, I mean, of course, we're not exactly strangers to each other. Like, we've worked together on many things with Uncloud, and throughout that we got to meet each other also as people, and I think it was also very important. Also in the process of working for the festival together, to understand, like, how do we see things, like how, like, also the whys. And I think what I decided long time ago that whenever I will feel ready to release my first album, that I would want to work with you on that.
Yeah,
I didn't know exactly.
Already named it already, like 2 years ago.
Yeah, long time ago. Like, so I think, because I mean, it's not the first album I make, it's more the first album that I publish. And there's reasons for that, but I kind of knew, because I've never felt really this urgency or need to publish things. I like to make things, I like to perform, to share it, of course, but not in this format, I thought. So I kind of felt that it would be something very personal. I thought, if I ever feel this, then it probably is something personal. This doesn't answer the question, but what I always thought is, like, most importantly, or not most importantly, but very importantly, I love your work. Like, I've always thought what you make, what we've done together for the festival, but also, like, I know a lot about the things you do. I love it. I love the space it has. I love the precision it has by times. Like, there's a very strange interplay. It's never flat. There's always something behind it, and the images really speak for themselves while they're super abstract. And I love that combination. Like, it's really an invitation to see something in it that is, like, it's not a pictogram or something.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, but so I really like that kind of depth and the mystery behind it. And the most important reason, I think, is that because I know you work with your heart in a way. Like, if you're not inspired, if it doesn't speak to you, I don't know, but I think it's not gonna work for you in a way. And in a way, I felt like I know that you're very responsive if it touches you somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you have at least if I can, like you have a way of opening up yourself and taking things in that I think is very, very special. And so I thought, like, if it's gonna be this personal for me, and if it's personal, you need a lot of trust, and I think I had a lot of trust in you, in your work method, and your work ethics, and how you see these things. Yeah, and I thought, like, yeah, you can understand because you feel, you take it in.
Yeah, and understanding which is a bit different than all.
Yeah, and I think that was one a long time ago. I thought, like, if this is ever gonna happen, I would love to do it with Hans, and I would love to explore this together. And I didn't want to like set out an order, like I'm gonna bring out this album and it needs some imagery. Make me a picture.
Yeah.
That's not. I think it goes often like that, but that's absolutely not the process I wanted to go into.
Yeah.
In a way, because also it doesn't feel like fully like my album. Like I said, it was made in collaboration. There's a lot of sounds. Like there's this choir. I didn't have control over that choir. They were doing their thing. I was just recording it and then choosing bits and pieces. And I thought, like, it started with a dance. Now there's music. Like there's a performance. And I thought, like, okay, if we're gonna do a visual interpretation of this thing, then it should go way beyond. We just need a cover.
Yeah.
And I thought you would be in for that. And so I sent you, I think, an email or something. I was like, hey, Hans, this is here. Let me know what you think. And then I came here and you had like this and a poem. And I was like, wow. Yeah, this is exactly what I hope for. Like, yeah. And because I know it can go the other way around as well. And I was like, okay, this is, like, of course, there's a time by things were made before other things. But in a sense, I don't see it as a hierarchy, and I think that's very important.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do I remember correct that you didn't come with the question to make an album cover, but with the booklet at first, right?
Yeah, I think it was. I think we spoke about visual interpretation, or I don't think we even gave it like a product. I think at some point we talked about, okay, what kind of outings does it need to be?
Yeah.
But I think at first my question was like, hey, this is something.
Yeah, maybe that was the starting point.
What does it?
A visual translation of the journey of the music, and that brought us maybe to thinking about the medium of a booklet, because that in the visual world is a nice medium to actually go through a story which has some kind of linearity in it, like the album. Because I didn't actually answer your question about why this framework, but then I only answered a bit about the process, but I think it's very clear that at some point, okay, there are 8 images, they have a chronological order, they are in a booklet, and then how to translate snippets of that whole story towards an album cover, and then it's kind of almost an easy direction. Okay, we start in the top left corner with image number 1, and we just count until 8. And then, we have a 9th square, and I remember us having a 45-minute phone conversation about the emptiness and what to do with it, and all the different options. You with your mathematical point of view, and wow, it was great. Because
now it definitely is not empty at least.
But I think that the album cover is mostly a logical outcome of this whole process that was happening before, and then of course it's gonna be this almost like that.
It was definitely process first, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And then out of this process, this is kind of logical outcome. I'm very happy with it. It's beautiful, Skander.
Well, it's beautiful, Hans.
And for me, it was nice to also see it on Bandcamp. I even went through it with Gilles, like showing, hey, here, because what we like to do is just go on adventure on Bandcamp,
Yeah.
and the combination of title of the album and the album artwork, that's how I choose my adventure.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's an image, like, would I choose this? And when would I? Because of course it's in different moods, you click on different things. And I was quite happy with it.
Okay,
Like,
nice.
Of course, impossible to see it for the first time, because I've already seen it, but it
And
works.
it was also it was the digital file, of course. It does quite a bit to have this. Frame
But for
on the
me as
paper,
the designer, it had this challenge, like it should work on a vinyl, but also in the digital world,
course,
because there it is mostly seen in, what is it, 300 pixels or so, square, 240.
I don't know, I have no idea.
Yeah, and it should still work. I think that's important. I can not only make an album cover for the physical world, but the challenge is to let them work on both mediums. Media.
Yeah. What is the interview chief thinking?
That we touched the 50 minutes for sure.
That's way beyond 15 minutes.
Where are we?
38.
Oh, I was joking when I said 50.
Yeah.
But
But we have 4 minutes buffer at the beginning, so now it's like 35 minutes now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is still a lot to say about the interdisciplinary approach. That I checked a bit what you're doing with Uncloud Editions, and I think to sense a focus on that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Of course, this project is a lot about that. Starting with dance, choreography, music.
Yeah.
Then there's now poetry. There are visuals.
Yeah.
And I think, at least for me personally, there that is a big part of my enthusiasm. And also, still, after making this and reading what Uncloud Editions is about, I felt like, yes, this is what I want to be part of, because it kind of touches an enthusiasm that, how to put this into words, but because my head immediately explodes, because it's kind of a big thing for me. Like, but maybe just give all the big words to it. So the poem is about that there is something about what is the position of religion or God into nowadays society. It kind of went out, like we have to walk through space, and there's nothing secular in it. Like Or nee, seculier is juist.
Alles
is seculier.
Everything
geworden.
is secular. Okay.
Everything is secular. I think we, as our age, kind of feel lost in that, and then we are trying to find meaning, because humans seem to be needing it. Where are we gonna find it? And in my own philosophy, in my thoughts, this is mostly in Dutch, but zingeving. So,
it's hard to
translate, but zingeving is what it is about. So to find sense.
Find
in
sense,
English, it also works.
Find sense,
Again in Dutch, we hebben daar onze werktuigen voor, en die noemen we zintuigen. Which I find amazing. So there we have our senses that are able to give us the feeling of making sense. Then I also have thoughts about how many senses do we actually have. I think we have way beyond this 5 or 6 that are given. There are way more, but it's an interesting thing to focus on senses as werktuigen. How would you translate?
Werktuigen.
As the process,
working apparatus, kind of
things that
the tools, the ways.
But maybe tools is an interesting word, because it's actually mostly associated with machines.
Instrumentation.
But it is the exact opposite. But but it also has a lot of similarity. So our senses as the tools to make sense of where we are, who we are, all of
Yeah.
these existential questions. And then from my own experiences, the moments in where things start to make sense, or it feels like, this is what it is about. In my analysis about these processes, there is always what is happening there. There's an experience in where multiple senses, they kind of overlay and they start working with each other. It's never only by sight or only by sensing or only by smell or only, like there are always multiple, and when they kind of overlap and in this grid there happens something, so I think very visually, so I see these patterns, and when these patterns, they kind of overlap and merge together and something new exists between these different layers, that kind of, that's hard to say, but there is something, and then you feel like, this is it. This is what it is about. And it's always, in my personal experience, it's always a layering of senses.
Right.
So then, what we can do as artists is work towards in that direction. And go for it. So when you asked me, like, okay, I have music that actually came from a dance score and I want to have visuals with it, I felt like, this is my enthusiasm, let's go. Because there we try to bring these different senses together and create an experience in where, in this case, hopefully the listener will put this final, play it and go through the booklet and have like a visual story and have an audio story playing at the same time. And maybe the person read the poem, so there are also words, or your title, so there are different languages that are calling upon different senses, and they're all working together. And if it happens that they overlap in this kind of magical way, in where all of a sudden it feels like it clicks, then that's about it. Then we can find sense in life and
an experience, and
and I have the feeling that our time kind of needs that.
It's very interesting in terms of fragmentation. I think in terms of time and the fragmentation of attention. That screen time, blah blah blah. But so indeed, this emergent experience, like you have bits and parts, and together they make something bigger. Actually, a very important concept in the philosophy of science: emergent behavior. We can't explain the behavior of the whole by just looking at the individual parts. It's just not
that's what we tried
possible.
For a while, no?
Yeah, I think indeed with the label we thought and talked a lot about this, and we thought like, we need. I think it's also a bit our DNA as Uncloud and also as people. I think we're interested in many things, and I think also what is very special, at least for me as a composer in this context, is like like you said, like it was coming from dance. Like it's not really. I think I said it before, but it's not fully my album. Like I didn't have full control over it. Yeah. There's bits and pieces that just happened and just came together, and because it was made for dance, it was not made as music. I probably wouldn't do different choices if I wasn't composing it for a dance piece. I would probably leave less space. I would think very differently about timelines, and I think sometimes when taking other disciplines into in the context of the making, like you just leave space in general, because you're not trying to fill it all. And I think it's very important to leave this space. Yeah. I think we should do it more in general. And then maybe interdisciplinarity is a way of it. Of course, it can also be a design choice. But then I think when you have like in this case, we have this kind of general themes, grief, loss, closure, etc. And it's very interesting how everyone goes about that. And like you said, like, we're definitely a team of 6-7 people that put into this. And that all kind of, we conditioned each other. And I think it's beautiful to condition each other in inspiration. Yeah. Instead of trying to steal each other's attention. And I think it's very, very important. It is a challenge, though, to think about, like, how do we bring this out? Because, of course, we wanted to have something physical. Like, what is the medium exactly? And it conditions you a lot. a lot more than at least I would want. But we thought we're just gonna figure this out through by doing instead of thinking it beforehand. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's also my enthusiasm in that approach of working. Like, let's start doing, and then we create something,
Yeah.
and then we have something to reflect on. But let's not start with thinking.
Yeah.
We did that already.
It's very blocking indeed.
Yeah. And the results will always be an outcome of thought. And like, if you put thought in the beginning, then everything after is a result of that. And the approach of start doing is a radical different one if you like to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was it a little bit about the interdisciplinary, which I also really like in the word that inter just points towards the space in between.
Yeah.
I talk a lot now about the space in between, like if it's people or disciplinaries, but that space is very much needed in order to Yeah, in the visual world, do you know about the moiré patterns?
Yeah.
For me, that's also an amazing something. Like, there is a pattern here, there's a pattern here. When being observed from one point of view, these two patterns, they overlap and they create a new pattern.
Right.
But what is so important is that there is space in between these patterns, and there is a new pattern emerging from two things that are just overlapping. So in the moiré, there is for me also a huge enthusiasm because of this thought. Of layers, different kind of patterns overlapping and then creating a new pattern.
Right.
So that's maybe a bit of the visualization of what I just described as this magic clicking thing. Is the moiré pattern. Like, wow, and now you see it in the streets with just very geometrical structures of fence or whatever, and two extreme, like perfect human-made geometrical patterns can make moiré patterns that are completely organic and liquid.
Cool.
Like, what happens there?
Wow. Nice. On empty spaces, maybe that's the next thing we'll be working on.
Yeah. A lot still to come.
Lots still to come.
Yeah, thanks for asking me to collaborate on this.
Of course, Hans. Thank you so
great
much
project.
for accepting it. Yeah.
Yeah, I went buck wild. Like,
5 kilo of paper.
And in some processes of other assignments, I feel it at the end like, oh, I'm overworked. I again did too much. But here, it felt like I can just continue making because I love it so much. And also a big compliment to your music. I was not done after the third time listening to it. I could put it again and again and go on that journey and not even having the feeling like, we are there again. But every time being brought to different places and
Nice. Okay. Shall we round this up, boss?
50 minutes?
It's actually 50 minutes.